Good morning and welcome to another beginning drawing class. Last week we were working on this dragonfly, and it takes so long to do the drawing and then to color everything, and so today I wanted to go back to that and show you the difference. So we're going to spend the first part of the lesson on coloring, because I'm always saying I don't have enough time to color the whole thing as dark as I'd like it to be, and so today that's what we're going to focus on. And then the second part of the lesson we will work on a Mother's Day card, with Mother's Day coming up on Sunday. So we're going to begin. Now, what I did here on what I had colored before, very lightly, I did that after the lesson, and so I have something here, then we can compare the way that I've been doing it to the way that it could be and or should be. So part of the coloring process when you're using colored pencils, and again, this particular pencil is the Prismacolor, the soft core colored pencils. And so it takes, in any colored pencil, it takes time and a certain amount of pressure to get the richness of color that you're looking for. And so too often, by the time that we get a drawing in and start coloring, if there's any amount of coloring at all, there just isn't time to take the time, which I would do if I was just doing a drawing myself, or you have the time to do yourself. It takes going over and over it. So that's what we're going to focus the first part of our lesson with. And when you're doing a space like what we're doing right here, that beveled edge that we've talked about many times, that will give you a nice blended and smooth surface. So it's very important. So you don't want it to be too sharp to begin with. So later I'm going to do these legs in the yellow as well, and that will require a nice sharp point because you don't have much area to cover. So, and the other thing is, I've decided to go ahead and do this one just pretty much like the other side. I was gonna, oftentimes I'll do it different, like when we did the butterflies, remember? I did those differently to give you a variety, to see how differently you can make things go. But since we've already done part of it, I want to show you some comparisons between the coloring. So here, as you can see, you've got to just go over it and over it. Now I noticed, and this you will find too in yours, that I didn't get that particular strip. So when you're doing, so now already I want to sharpen this a little bit, but because they are soft core, I sharpen a little bit differently than your regular colored pencils, even though the other pencils that I've had for years are also Prismacolor, which I really like. I like the quality of their coloring. You know, see, now there's a perfect example. I have this piece that just broke off because of the softness. And it's unfortunate that it happened on a yellow, because yellow is a color that I use a lot. And I usually oftentimes run out of that one just because I use it. But that's part of the process too. And it's much more expensive to buy a single pencil, whether it's color or otherwise, than to buy a set of something. But if you don't use certain colors in a set, it's kind of a waste to have extra colors that you don't use. So it's part of the process. So anyway, it's not so easy to see on the yellow what I was talking about, the light colors that I normally use. So if we look here, we're going to be using a lot of yellow again. But I really like the, you should have, or should have had, the, this coloring book that Judy got for me, which I'm not using as a coloring book, but I'm using it as a guide to our drawing lessons or any other work that I may do. I happen to like Dragonflies. They're pretty cool. Ever since I was a kid, I think I talked about Snake Lake in the summertime. Well, so it goes back many years that I've enjoyed the beauty of the dragonfly. Now, in this coloring book, of course, they've taken it to a whole new level because they want you to be able to enjoy the coloring process. And I don't use the whole page. I just take certain elements that I like, that work for what we're doing. So it's like anything, it takes what it takes. So we have those, and we should have a line here. Now, depending on, now here's an example. If you look at this and you look at that, they're not exactly the same. It doesn't matter. You know, this is not, we're not machines, okay? So perfection is something you can strive for, but don't beat yourself up if you don't get what you're looking for. Okay, so since I'm still on the yellow, I want to see if I can sharpen this without breaking it again. That's a pretty sharp. So these legs are not, there, I broke it again. Broke it again. I got it. Now, I don't think this is going to work, but no. Oh boy. Might have to use another color if this keeps happening, because I can't afford to use all my yellow on this one project. So I am not going to do it as hard. So it's not going to come out as bright as I would like it to, but I can't afford to use all of my yellow just in this one area. And even in my other set, my yellow is almost gone. I've used it so much. It's such a good color. Okay, anyway, as we move on, now we have this green. Now here's your, over here is your for me, a scratch pad, so that I can make sure that that's the color that I want, which is the color that I have over there. Okay. So it's going over it and over it until you get what you're looking for. Before, I probably did something like this to move on. Didn't want to take the time, but you've just got to take the time to go over it to get the richness of color that is possible, and that takes time. But if you're impatient in doing any kind of artwork or a lot of different projects, if you're impatient, it's not going to come out as nice as it would if you forget about the time that it takes to do any part of it, because it just takes what it takes. So be patient. Don't be hard on yourself. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're just doing the best we can to learn every day how to better do what we enjoy doing. Okay, so we have that there, that's there, and then I've got a darker green. I'm pretty sure that's it. So if you make it dark enough, you'll see that that's it. And then again, to get the edges, I've got to have a certain amount of point, if you will. And then mostly, you've got your edge, but your beveled edge that mostly you're going to be using, but you need to get right up to the edge too. So It covers up a lot of the black lines we have there, but that's not as important as getting the richness of color that we're looking for. See, no, you know, when you have a lot of light coming through, when you do it very lightly, that's one thing that you, in terms of effect, you may like and may want in certain projects, but in this particular one, I want a nice solid color, and that takes going over it and over it. So the richness of color makes all the difference in terms of, you know, what we're looking for. Okay, so that takes care of that. So I'm going to put that back here. I like to keep my colors together so that it's easier to find things. Now, there's an orange. I'm pretty sure this is the orange. Pretty sure that's the orange. So when it's been so long, like in this case, a couple of weeks since I did this first part, you know, what looks like the color may not be the color that I used. So that's why the little notebook that I have for a number of things, but one of the things I use it for is testing colors, or even testing a pen line, right? So later on when we're working on the Mother's Day card, and I don't know how far I'm going to go with this because I want to we may, you know, with Mother's Day coming right up, I may go back and forth on this. So I might even finish this another time. We'll see. We'll see how the time factor is here. Okay, so I just realized that this was orange and not yellow. So because it's a little darker, I'm able to go over that without too much trouble. Good. So sometimes if you make a mistake, it's more easily corrected. And then we have one here. In this case, dark over light, not so bad. Okay, so there's the orange. Now, I don't, let's see, was this the red? That's the question. I think so. I think so. Okay. So let's try it here. Well, if it isn't, it's pretty darn close. Some of these colors are very close together. So, in terms of value, that's what I mean, very close together in value. So, and then the other thing, depending on what color is next to it, can change the look of that color as well. So once we get that blue in there, that will help us determine. Okay. Okay, so blue there, then we've got the red here. So in these smaller areas, of course, you need to be able to sharpen that a little bit so that one of the, now any colored pencil, and when you're putting pressure on it, even my other ones, can break, but obviously being a soft core, there's more of a tendency when you're going over and over something, and it's very possible that the pigments that are used will also determine, for example, that yellow, which breaks so easily, might be the pigment too that is a deciding factor in terms of how hard or soft even a soft core pencil could be. So, but the key is in anything in life is try not to be too upset one way or the other with what's going on in life. If it's beyond our control, it's no use wasting our energy and our peace of mind if we don't have to. Okay, so then this last part here, so I see I have an extra line here, but doesn't matter. I'm not perfect. I'll just cover it up as best I can with some color. And I encourage you to, do the very best you can, but don't beat yourself up. Like when you get a little color in here, you don't need it, but that'll cover up with the blue anyway, so. But it's easy to make a streak here or there. So, So as you can see, it just takes time to get the richness of color that we want. Okay, so that's the red. Now we need a blue. And this is pretty dark. I don't think that's it. Let's see if that's it. That looks more like it, but let's check one more here. That's even more of a purple there. In fact, I think I'm going to move that over here. I think this is it, right, Shaw. Okay, we're getting to the point where I'm gonna have to change over. Well, let's see if we can. And then depending too, one of the factors you can consider is, you know, if there's anything on the paper, roughness of any kind from maybe from erasing or doing various things getting to this point. You want the paper to be as flat as possible so that it doesn't produce different unexpected lines or so there, you know, there's a lot of things involved. So you want to keep your working surface as clean as possible because of those factors. And that is for many media that you could be using. So you can see there's still some white coming through there, which we don't want. We're trying to get this nice and dark. So as you can see, in the almost half an hour that we've just been dealing with color, this is all that we've accomplished so far. And that includes breaking the lead on the yellow a couple of times, and, you know, whatever takes place in a particular situation. So okay, so basically, now that I look at this large area, it's a little bit different blue, but it's so close. Those two are so close together, it's hard to tell, even with a discerning eye. Okay, so we're going to have to leave that here if I'm going to be able to spend any time at all on the card. So this is a Mother's Day card with Mother's Day coming up. So I'm going to be... Now, we've done enough of the banners that it shouldn't be a problem to begin with this banner. So we're going to start off with a banner that basically says, Happy Mother's Day, which is nothing unusual, but it's the real difference, I think, is the fact that it's so personal that when you make something, especially like for a mother, it's just that much more. Sure, you can go out and buy a card. That's very nice. It's the thought that counts, right? It's the thought that counts. So, in that vein, if it's the thought that counts, if you're the one that actually did it, I mean, how much more special is that? And so that's part of it. It's like anything. But it's about being able to do something like that too. I mean, how many people can? So the fact that you can is special in itself. I mean, I appreciate the fact that, you know, it's I'm not a master or anything, but I can do stuff like this. It's very cool. Now, in the centering of these, one of the things that if you start off with your H centered in terms of the edge there, how far you want it, and then you have the Y also close to there, then you'll find that there are 3 letters left, right? So if you can find the center and make a P there, and then you can center what's left here, and then, you see? So that's one way. Now in the mother, the same thing. If you start off with the M, and then you end up with the S, also close to, then what would be in the center would be the H. And then you have 2 letters here that you can, and then 2 letters here that, you see, and then day. Okay. Now, this is going to be for my mom, and so I'm going to do it a little bit differently than, you know, there's all kinds of flowers and things that you can do. But my mother is now 98 as of early February. And so I'm going to see if I can squeeze this in here. Okay, that's the way I'm going to do the basic part of it. And then, instead of flowers and things of that nature, in the case of my mother, her memory is fading. You know, she's 98, right? So it's sometimes a challenge. I mean, she's very, when you're talking to her, she's fine, but, you know, 5 minutes from now, you can ask her about something and she doesn't remember. And so it's just part of the whole process of being 98. So I wanted to keep it simple, and the simple message being love. And I'm grateful that I have a mother that deserves my love, because she was a wonderful mother. She did a lot for us, and I feel for the people who never had a mother, whether to love or to hate or anything, not even to have one. That's there's nothing to be said. I mean, that's just. So I'm very fortunate that my mother was hardworking and there for me, and the whole experience of going anywhere or doing anything from that point of view was my mother. I didn't, and because of the church, we grew up in the Greek Orthodox faith, and so last Sunday was Greek Easter. So we had Mom over, and my brother and my son, and we celebrated Greek Easter last Sunday, and this Sunday we can do something for Mother's Day. So what I want to do here then is, I think I'm going to use pink for the background of the banners, because the hearts are going to be red, of course, and so I want everything to go together. And again, because of what I was just talking about, I want to be able to communicate love on this day for my dear mother. And so I'm keeping it simple. I mean, the hearts basically represent that feeling, and so I don't need flowers and all these other things, which I normally do, but this is a different year. After the pandemic and everything, it's a very different year for all of us. I guess I'd better sharpen this a little. Now, the other thing is, when you're sharpening something, you don't have to sharpen it all the way to a point, because I don't need a point right now, right? So I still have a little bit of a beveled edge from what I was working, as long as I don't do the whole thing. And then this time, I did the lettering with a marker so that it would stand out more, and as you can see, it does. So I can make the background even darker without worrying about covering up the fine lettering using that fine pen that I did for the hearts and everything, and the banner itself. So yeah, so a little richer in color. Just makes everything better. Color is a wonderful thing. When you think of the old black and white films that we grew up with, many of us, well, the difference between the black and white films and the color films, like night and day. Black and white being night, in case you didn't know, and the color for the day. Yeah. Yeah, so basically, okay, I think that'll work. Now, although I don't think I'm going to have time to get to it, I think what I'm going to do in this particular case for Mom is when I turn it over to where you would open it up and you got the split there, I'm going to make a heart there and then hearts there and then just say, I love you. And keeping it simple, but at the same time, stating what's important. In fact, I think because of the heart here, I'm going to make this heart pink, and the little ones will all be red, and that way, you see, things evolve as you go a lot of times, because you think you're going to do one thing, and then once you've done something, it's like, whoa, whoa, look at that. Well, that heart, if I use this in red, it's not going to show up. So how about if I do it in pink, because, you know, it's Happy Mother's Day, Mom. We want that to be emphasized. That's why this heart is much larger. It's like a banner in this sense, right? And so, yeah, and that ties in with the banner up above there. And then I can continue making the hearts in the red. So yeah, it's a work in progress. It's like life itself. It's a work in progress. We can continue to learn, whether it's artwork or it's something else that you're interested in, another hobby, or just, you know, is it important to better yourself as a human being, or, you know, Mother's Day for a really wonderful mother, there are qualities in a good mother that if we all emphasized in our own lives would come out with a much better world, wouldn't it? Yeah. Love is a very special thing that most people need and want, but oftentimes don't get for one reason or another. And so, it's something worth striving for, isn't it? Love, and the more you give something, I think the more you receive that same thing. And so, don't be shy. Because love is a very special quality. And well, as we start adding color here, I really am beginning to see how this is making a statement, which is what I wanted to do. It's simple, direct, to the point, but it makes its point very nicely, I think. So I'm pleased with the way that this very simple Mother's Day card is coming together. But also I see that, and as we're running out of time here, I want to go over the pink in the banner a little bit more, just to make that stand out just a little bit better. But that's one of the nice things about having the bolder print, so that you can make the banner darker without hiding what's, let's see, the pink here, without hiding the lettering, which you certainly don't want to do. So, with Mother's Day in a few days, that'll be Sunday, I would just like to take this opportunity to wish all mothers a happy and loving Mother's Day, and to the families of mothers. May you have a wonderful Mother's Day with your very special mother. So as you can see, the difference between up here and it really makes a difference. So adding that extra color, and here again with the darker lettering, you can do it. So it's a work in progress, just like life itself. So And I will probably add just a little bit more red to the hearts. But I wanted you to see pretty much the overall effect. And then when we get a little more color down here too, we can see how nicely that all comes together. And that's part of the process too, is watching something evolve until you have it pretty much where you want it. So that's the first part of the Mother's Day card. So let me again wish you all a happy Mother's Day and happy drawing. Thank you for joining me today.